Yes,
So,
Prabhupada.
yes, Prabhupada. So inaugurate the Yoga Dharma of Kali Yuga, namely Nama Sankirtan. Because when Krishna comes in this world, he himself practices this chanting and dancing. Who else can do it better than him? He's best in everything. Whatever he does is best. He's best in singing, best in dancing, best in speaking philosophy. When he becomes a teacher, he becomes Krishna for Arjuna, Rishabhadev for his 100 sons, or Kapila for his mother Devavati. And in this way, he becomes the best teacher. When he becomes a student, he becomes the best student. In the ashram of Sandipani Muni, Krishna becomes the best student under his guru, Sandipani Muni. Similarly, if he becomes a friend, he becomes the best friend of Arjuna. Isn't it? Nobody can be a better friend than him. When he becomes a lover, he is the best lover of Srimati Radharani. When he becomes a brother, he is the best brother of Balarama. Balram. Take anything, he is the best in that, like he says in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Similarly, when he becomes a devotee himself, to teach the world how to become best devotee, he is Lord Chaitanya. So we can learn from Krishna himself what is the role model example of a first-class devotee, the best devotee. So we want to see how the best devotee looks like, then Lord Chaitanya is the example. He has the best behavior and he has the best tattva, or the understanding of the absolute truth. The way he explains to the world, whether it is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya or Prakashanand Saraswati, or his discussion with Ramananda Rai, or Vallabhacharya, what kind of quality of discussions he had with all these personalities, with Rupa Goswami, with Sanatana Goswami. Nobody can catch up with his philosophical depth. And when it comes to bhava, we say sadhana with bhavana. Nobody can catch him in the attitude of a devotee. So Lord Chaitanya exhibited a combination of two things, Priti Purna Vyavahar and Yukti Purna Prachar. I mentioned it in one of the previous classes also. Priti Purna Vyavahar means very loving dealings with not only devotees, even with personalities like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and others, in order to bring them to Krishna consciousness. So a devotee also has learned this from Lord Chaitanya, Priti Purna Vyavahar. And Yukti Purna Prachar means a very crystal clear presentation of the philosophy. Yukti means a logical presentation of philosophy. Yukti Purna Prachar. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya is teaching the whole world how to combine the presentation with representation. What is presentation? Philosophy. What is representation? Behavior. Which is important? Both are important. We have to make a blend of both. Imagine if somebody is very good in presenting the philosophy but has no culture, no manners, no etiquettes. Nobody will want to listen from them. And if somebody is very good in manners and behavior and etiquettes and everything, but they have nothing to offer to the world, then they will be like a hollow, it's like a nice package with no product. It will be like that. So either of it wouldn't do. We need a combination of both. Then we all can become good preachers also, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world to give the Yoga Dharma, which is chanting of the holy name. Secondly, he came to especially bestow Prema Bhakti or Vraja Prema. So in the third chapter of the Adi Leela, verse number 14 and 26, there are verses which talk about this point. The 14th verse, I'm just telling the verse. Chirakala nahi kari prema bhakti dana, bhakti vina jagatera nahi avasthana. He says that for a long time on the inhabitants of the world, I have not yet bestowed the prema bhakti, although it was bestowed long, long ago, he says. But without such a loving attachment, the material world, existence in the material world is useless. So I will come to bestow that type of Rajab prem, like that he says. In the 14th verse he says that. And also he says in the 26th verse, my amshas, they can only establish the Yoga Dharma, but I can bestow Braja Prema. That, even when many avatars come, and they can destroy the demons, they can protect the devotees, they can re-establish Dharma, and but they will not be able to give the Braja Prema, because Braja Prema is the deepest thing. For your information, when Krishna left the world back to his abode, he withheld Uddhava and told Uddhava that, Uddhava, you should not leave along with the Yadus. I am going to give you a very important homework. And he said, in Badrikashrama, there is a group of devotees, sages residing there, and they had invited me, Krishna said to Uddhava. They had invited me, but I could not go there till now. Whichever devotee requests me, anything I'll always have been providing, and I've been personally visiting. But this one group of sages I couldn't visit, he said. So I have a great obligation, which I wish you to fulfill, he said. And what is the obligation? He said, first you go to Vrindavan and give the message to the gopis. And then when you return back, then after I leave to my abode, then you have to go to Badrikashrama and give the same message of Braja Prema to those sages. How intelligent Krishna is, because he saw that Uddhava was a student of Brihaspati, very intelligent and deeply learned. But he wanted to polish Uddhava's devotion to imbue it with a Braja Prema, which is a spontaneous love. It is not just a reverential love. Reverential love is wonderful, but spontaneous love even captures and controls Krishna. So Krishna wanted Uddhava to go to Vrindavan and meet the Vrajabasis and learn that type of love, especially from the gopis of Braj. And then he wanted to return back from Braja and then go to Badrikashrama. Because Krishna said, those saintly people in Badrikashram, they know Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, everything they know except one thing. They only don't know the spontaneous love of Vrajabasis, where Krishna becomes controlled by his mother Yashoda, or by his beloved Shrimati Radharani, or by his covered boyfriends in the mode of a friend. So this is something very special, which was not known to the sages. Therefore, you will find in the world there are many, many great personalities, but many of them do not know this kind of spontaneous love in dealing with the Lord, although they have reverential love. So therefore, the Lord says, in the 1426, that to bestow the Prema Bhakti or Braja Prema, not just the Nama Sankirtana. The goal of Nama Sankirtana is Braja Prema. Why do we do Nama Sankirtana? Because eventually we want to come to the Braja Prema where we can love Krishna heart to heart in a spontaneous mood. And thirdly, is what we are going to start today, is to fulfill Advaita Acharya's appeal. That part I had not started it last time. So now I'll come to the notes now. So now I'll show you the third chapter, last part. We had left it in one place. So because these chapters are pretty big, we will not be able to cover everything. So, but I can show you the important sections which will be good enough for our understanding the sections. So the third chapter, I will quickly show you how we began. This is the external reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'll slowly browse through it. You can see how we proceeded till now. So we began with Mahaprabhu, even a fool to grasp Vedanta. One of the first classes we began with this. And there's Ashirvada given, the benediction by Kaviraj Goswami for all of us who are hearing about Lord Chaitanya, that he's saying that Sada, last line, he says, Sada Krade Kandare, Svarato Vashachandana. May Lord Sachinandan, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enter into our hearts and remove the anarthas and establish Krishna Prema there, Radha Krishna Prema there, exactly like a lion who chases after an elephant who enters into a cave. It removes the elephant from the cave and finishes him. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya, who is like a lion, enter our hearts and remove the anarthas like elephant like anarthas and then destroy it. And establish Krishna Prema in our hearts like the place. So, and then Krishna appeared on the earth in the 8th millennium of, the 28th Divya Yuga he appeared. And then he exhibited the Braja Bhakti there. Now, he saw that the whole world is submerged in reverence and not in spontaneous love. So Krishna contemplated after his returning back to his abode. That because people have forgotten the Braja Bhakti, I will teach by my example. Apani karimo bhakta bhava angikare. Apani achari bhakti shikayamo sabare. By my own acharan, by my behavior, I will teach the world how to become a devotee. And that is purpose of Krishna's descent. And then he's saying, my amshas can establish Yuga Dharma, but I alone can bestow Braja Prema, which I told you a few minutes ago. That's a second reason. First reason is Yuga Dharma, to propagate Yuga Dharma. Second reason is Braja Prema, and to give sponge of Rama. But it's the reverential worship of Ram. Garuda is a devotee of Vishnu. That is also reverential worship. But the Brajabasis, like Sri Rama, Sudama, Madhumangal, they are dealing with Krishna. Nanda Yashoda is dealing with Krishna. Or Radharani and Gopi is dealing with Krishna. These are all beyond reverential admiration, where Krishna does not play God. So this is a very important aspect for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, like all of us. Godhead gives up his godhood in Vrindavan and gives up the role of playing God. Even all of you, Prabhujis, you have experienced that sometimes you may want to have a stunt with your child, with your kid. So kid may take a stick, you may take a stick, and you know very well who is going to win, isn't it? And everybody knows. Very soon, your kid may knock you down and then climb on you and sit on you and say that, Papa, Father, I have done. So I am the champion or whatever. So you not only let them become the champion, you actually you behave in such a way that they will become champion. And then you like to be defeated. Generally in this world, nobody likes to be defeated in this world. In every other fight, we will want to win. But this is one fight, we all know very well that we would like to be defeated by our child. Why? Anybody can say, what is that one factor, what makes you agree the defeat or be willing to be defeated? Yes, anybody?
Love.
Love.
Love, yeah, that is true. It is the love that makes, and the same with Vraja Prema. It is the same with Vraja Prema. So you find that Krishna doesn't play God in Vrindavan. In Vaikuntha, he plays the role of God. He's the boss. Everybody else is das. You will see in Samudra Manthanila, whatever trouble devotees have, you salute the boss Vishnu and ask him, sir, the mountain is not moving like this. And I cannot, we cannot do the Samudra Manthan. Manthan means the churning of the milk ocean, we can't do. Then Lord Vishnu became a tortoise below. Then again the mountain is moving this way. Then all devotees approached him. Then Lord Vishnu said, I will become the Ajita, one expansion of Vishnu on the top. Then later on, he came as Dhanvantari, bringing the Amrit Kalash outside. Then that was stolen away by the demons. Then the Lord became Mohini Murti. Again, you find him. So you find the Lord doing many things. And then when they could not lift the mountain in the beginning, Lord picked it up himself and brought it in Garuda. Basically, Vishnu is like a problem solver for the demigods. You have any problem, salute Lord Vishnu, solve your problem and he helps you. Here is a situation where Vishnu is the leader and everybody else is servant. And servant approaches leader as a boss and boss serves the das, takes care of the problems of the servants. So this type of relationship is purely reverential because they take help from Lord Vishnu for their activities. And Vishnu proves his supremacy. And everybody claps hands. So leader will prove himself and everybody will clap hands. That is the relationship of Vishnu and devotees. Whereas in Ram, it becomes a little more intimate. You will see Ram is asking Guha, Guha, can you please help me cross this Sarayu? Cross this Ganga. Can you please help me? Another place Ram is asking monkeys, can you please help me build the Setu Banda? See, if a superior depends on the subordinate, what happens? Anybody knows? When a superior is begging a subordinate for something, can you please help me make this Setu Banda so I can go to Lanka to defeat Ravana? Can where my Sita is? He's depending on all his different devotees. What happens when
we get mercy? We get mercy or we get service.
okay, you get service, you get mercy. I'm looking for one more.
You get a close relationship with the Lord.
You develop a more intimate relationship. Then and the subordinate becomes close. That's true. You feel more intimacy with the superior, isn't it? Like imagine, for example, if a mother or father tells a child, "Hey, my dear child, please tell me, you took the china clay and made this beautiful doll. How did you make it? Even I can't make it. Can you please help me?" If the parents say, the child will say, "Come here, I'll make and show you how to do it." Then the child takes upper hand, and the parents take a lower hand, and then that increases the intimacy between the two. Imagine if a mathematics teacher is asking a student, "Can any of you help me solve this particular equation? I'm unable to. I've been trying. Can anybody find out a clue?" And then one of the students comes to the board and he solves the problem, and the teacher is appreciating. And then the student's love for the teacher increases. That's the point. And Lord Rama does it. And if you see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna, Lord Krishna is even more than Lord Rama also. Coward boys are dancing on, coward boys are climbing on his shoulder. You can see that. You see the Nanda Yashoda, how they deal with him. Yashoda takes a sticks and chases behind Krishna, isn't it? So, have you ever seen anybody chasing after God with a stick behind, and God is running away? And that is the way Krishna likes to be portrayed. In the first verse, Namamishwaram Satchitananda Rupam. So, in this way, the Lord not only becomes subordinate to his devotees, he becomes controlled by the love of the devotees. So you can clearly, visibly see when you go from, Vishnu to Ram to Krishna, when you go, it becomes more and more intimate as you go in this. But even though Krishna came to this world 5,000 years ago and showed this pastime, still many people have forgotten this, and still they go to the temple, ring a bell, put a coin, and beg for different benedictions. You see, Krishna got fed up. What is this? Why don't people love me intimately as they love their own relatives? Like in a home, we all love each other and we try to, deal intimately with each other. Krishna wanted that type of dealing with devotees. Of course, we cannot artificially do such a dealing without qualifying ourselves. Because God is the greatest person in the whole of creation. So to get an intimate relationship with him, just like that, we cannot do it without qualifying ourselves. So that qualification is pure love. Nothing short of pure love. We cannot have any mixture in that love. If you have a mixture of, I want this, I want that, I want, that makes it actually bhukti. Or I want freedom from all suffering, that becomes mukti. Or I want some powers to control, then it becomes siddhi. So when our devotion to Krishna becomes free from all these three, bhukti means proprietorship mentality, and mukti means enjoying mentality, and siddhi means controlling mentality. One has to give up proprietorship, controllership, enjoyership. And then what should we ask for? We have to ask only for pure love, nothing short of pure love. I simply want to love you and serve you. I have nothing else. And I will serve you in the way you wish me to serve you. When a devotee comes to this purest form of love, unadulterated love, prema, in that stage, then Krishna becomes sold out to his devotee. Krishna becomes completely sold out. So, therefore, Krishna comes to teach these three things. The three reasons to inaugurate Yoga Dharma, which is Nama Sankirtan, to bestow the Prema Bhakti, Vraja Prem, and thirdly, to fulfill Advaita Acharya Sati, which we will proceed to. I'll just show you. I'll come back to that. So, we did the first two elaborately. about Krishna Varnam, Tushar Krishna and all that. In Kali Yuga, Lord Krishna comes as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many evidences for the Mahaprabhu's appearance. Rajak Prabhu, did I send you the PPT on the verses by about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction, appearance?
Yes, Prabhu. We shared with everyone.
You shared with everybody? Okay, yeah. So that is over. And then the second thing about the Lord coming as Yuga Avatar also is over. Now we will proceed to the Advaita Acharya's.
92.
92, no? Yeah, correct. Here, you will see that. So there is one point mentioned here, attributes of Lord Chaitanya predictions that are faithless and non-believers who don't see what is clearly evident, but the pure devotees know what Krishna is, because you will find in the age of Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu behaved like a Channa avatar. Why? Channa avatar means hidden avatar, because he thought that many others are declaring themselves to be God, ordinary human beings. So I also don't want to show my real godhood to people, but I will become a good devotee and teach. Nevertheless, there are sufficient evidences to show Lord Chaitanya as Krishna himself, without doubt. And all the pure devotee acharyas have confirmed it. And the scriptures also confirm it. So this is the point. Principal reason for Lord Chaitanya's advent is appealed by Advaita Acharya. So Lord Advaita Acharya is also Lord's incarnation as a devotee. I had spoken about it in my first talk, that in the Panchatattva, if you see, on this extreme, on your left-hand side extreme, you find Advaita Acharya. On the right-hand side extreme, you find Srivas Thakur. So Advaita Acharya teaches us Pancharatri Gividi, our worship of Lord with Tulasi and Gangajal, and Pancharatri Giv, which means deity worship. And Srivas Thakur is Narada Muni, who is teaching Bhagavata Vidhi, which is studying Bhagavatam, Shravanam and Kirtanam of Bhagavatam. So both are like parallel railway lines, Bhagavata Vidhi and Pancharatri Vidhi. So here it is said, Advaita Acharya's grief is mentioned here. Keha pape keha punye kare vishaya bhoga bhakti gandha nahi yate yaya bhava roga. He is telling, alas, alas, see the situation of the people of Kali Yuga. After Lord Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, now the world has come to such a degraded state now. They have forgotten Krishna, they have forgotten the Shuddha Bhakti, and they have no piety in their lives, and they have become filled with all kinds of terrible activities. So that is actually, if you read the Chaitanya Bhagavat beginning, the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there is a description about the state of situation 500 years ago. So there it is mentioned that the people of Navadvip, actually why Navadvip is mentioned, because in India that was a seat of knowledge, the place of Navadvip, all the scholars used to go there. So here it is said that having appeared first, Advaita found everyone in material enjoyment, whether sinfully or virtuously, and devoid of Krishna Bhakti, which can give total relief from the repetition of birth and death. Which means some people were devoid of Krishna Bhakti sinfully, which is understandable. They were eating meat and drinking wine and breaking the regulative principles and all that. But there were some engaged virtuously in the worship of Durga, the worship of different demigods, and like Mansa, who is like a snake goddess. And they were also getting their sons and daughters married, expanding their business, making a lot of money. Like nowadays also we find some people spend a lot of money in, marriage. One invitation card, they may spend $5,000 to print it and distribute it to their family and friends just to show their how much money they have with them, isn't it? And so people were actually spending the time in such activities actually. Or sometimes they would do yajna, they would do so many things, but not chanting the holy name. So the demigod worship had become expanded 500 years ago. So therefore here we find Advaita Acharya Prabhu who appeared, who is actually a combination of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. is Mahavishnu, but adopting the mood of Sadashiva. What is the mood of Sadashiva? You all know he drank the halal poison, concentrate from the milk ocean. And by drinking it, he actually exhibited the greatest mercy to the living entities. He pleased Lord Hari and also protected all the jivas. So that is his mercy, which he showed long before. But now again he's showing the mercy. How? By becoming an instrument in bringing the Lord into this world, by his devotion. Now, in the subsequent verses, you will see he will be inviting Lord to appear in this world. So he's pondering in his mind about how to benefit the people. So here he's saying here, you see, he's contemplating. Apani Sri Krishna yadi karina avatara, apani achari bhakti karina prachara. He's saying that in the 99th verse, he's saying, if Sri Krishna were to appear as an incarnation, he himself could preach devotion by his personal example. What could be a better example than Krishna himself? He's thinking like that. Yadi Krishna karena avatar. If Krishna can, become an avatar and come down by his own behavior, let him show bhakti to the world. I will make him do that. And instead of me and my other devotee friends preaching, we can preach, but Brajaparama was not very easy to reach the hearts of people. Like that he felt. So he wanted to bring the Lord. That was his conviction. That if Krishna appears, everyone will pick up very fast. Also, at that time, the Vaishnavas used to approach Advaita Acharya Prabhu and tell him that there are Durga worshippers, there are Shiva worshippers, there are other demigod worshippers, and those people would criticize the Vaishnavas. Why do you have to chant so loud? If you are chanting so loud, Lord Vishnu, who is sleeping in the milk ocean, will get up. And then if he opens the eyes, there will be, cosmic dissolution because of that. Why don't you chant mildly, softly within your own doors? Why do you guys come out and why do you have to make such a loud noise of Sankirtan? Like the people would criticize. And people would generally not chant the holy name at that time. Whenever there would be some occasion of eclipse or something, then they would chant Govinda, Krishna, Madhava, some names of Lord, they will chant people. But it was an occasional thing. And people would ask devotees, why do you have to chant every day, all day? Why do you have to study Srimad Bhagavatam? Why don't you people enjoy material life? Why do you, all the time you are after God? Like that they would speak, and the Vaishnavas could not explain how to open their heart and teach these materialistic people. You see, materialistic people's life is in one direction and devotees' life is in another direction. The materialistic people, eat, drink and be merry is the slogan, isn't it? And if you ask devotees, chant and be happy, isn't it? And then study and dance in the kirtan. So this is devotees' lifestyle. So it's totally different lifestyle. So it's like gold and iron. If you see the devotees' lifestyle, rise early in the morning and chant the holy name and study the Srimad Bhagavatam, follow the 4 regulative principles and remember Krishna's pastimes. And this is devotees' life. And a non-devotee's life is, they do just the opposite. Devotees rise early, non-devotees get up late. And devotees drink cow's milk, and non-devotees kill the cow. And devotees follow the 4 regulative principles, non-devotees break all of them. And devotees are aiming at going back home, back to Godhead, and demons are living a life to go to hell. It is just the opposite. Vishnu Bhakti Smrito Deva Asrasta Viparyaha, it is said. Then while devotees actually have faith in Lord's words and scriptures, the non-devotees just act against it. So it's like oil and water, it doesn't mix at all. So therefore, Advaita Acharya was approached by all the Vaishnavas. And Advaita Acharya said, but Advaita Acharya used to call all the Vaishnavas and study Bhagavatam in their company. He used to have a Bhagavatam study circle. He used to lead it regularly. So when Vaishnavas came and said, Advaita Acharya told them, I will personally bring Lord Krishna to this world by my intense calling by the holy name. And if Krishna wouldn't come, then I will take my chakra and sever the heads of all these non-devotees. And they will learn a good lesson. So, of course, Advaita Acharya was Lord Vishnu, who could speak like that. But the devotees only could cry when they would see materialism rampant and increasing. So therefore, the Advaita Acharya Prabhu performed this kind of puja. With the Ganga Jal, as you see in the bank of Ganges, he is offering worship to Shaligram Shila. In a very great Lord's names in one Raga Shri, we call it. There's a particular Raga called Raga Shri. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is a Ragashri Raga, in which he is calling Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to appear, and you will see this is what he did. Tulasi jala matrena jalasya chulkena va vikrinite swam atmanam bhaktebhyo bhaktavatsalaha. If someone offers tulasi leaf and Ganges waters, actually by this very quickly Lord becomes purchased, he says. Lord feels himself indebted to such a devotee. And by his loud call, it is said, Advaita Acharya's call penetrated the shell of the universe. And it penetrated even the Brahma Jyoti. It entered Vaikuntha and then Goloka. And in Goloka, it touched the heart of Krishna. And Krishna felt, oh, it's a very loud and compelling and loving call. I cannot resist myself. He had to come as Lord Chaitanya. Then, in this way, there is a beautiful verse I have quoted here, you can see. Vam bhakti yoga paribhavita hrit saroja asya shute kshita pato nananada pumsam yadyadhyata urgaya vibhavayanti tat pranayase swadanagrahaya. Here it is said, Vam bhakti yoga paribhavita, inspired by your devotion, my dear Lord, in the hrit saroja, in the lotus hearts of your devotees, asya, you stand. How? Shuddha ikshita pato. Devotees hear about your glories with their ears and see your beautiful form. Hey Lord, for such devotees, what do you do? In whatever way they worship you, you accept that worship. Tat papu pranayase. You appear in a suitable form to fulfill that desire. So, this is a very beautiful verse. Brahmaji says this. The actual meaning of this verse is, if devotee want to see the Lord as Rama, Lord will appear as Ram. Like our Murari Gupta wanted to worship Ram. If devotees want to see him as Krishna, then Lord will appear as Krishna for them. For Prahlad, the Lord came as a protector, Narsimha. Like that, Lord appears in a particular form in which devotees are eager to worship him. Like when the devotees wanted to see the Lord in a merciful form, in which Lord will be distributing, Vraja Prema. So then Lord came as Lord Chaitanya. You see, there are 4 personalities compared by in the scriptures. I have heard this from as well as Gaur Govind Swami in one of his writings. It is said that Lord Narasimha is powerful, extremely powerful, so powerful that even demigods were trembling in fear when they heard his roaring after killing of Hiranyakashipu. But Lord Rama is not only powerful, but also very beautiful. Lord Narasimha is having blood soaking his manes, and he has a nakham and everything, very frightening scene. Whereas Lord Rama is having the same power of Narasimha, but he's very, very handsome to look at. Yeah, he has a very beautiful green color form. So it's called Ramachandra. Like a full moon, his face was very handsome. But if you see Krishna, he is not only powerful, not only handsome, but also he is also more merciful than Ram. Ram only gave the monkeys some service to do. Please build a bridge for me. But Krishna told the monkeys, because you build a bridge for me in Ramavatara, I will feed you bread, butter now. He fed them butter. So he gave them remuneration for the service. So he is considered even more merciful. When in Ramavatara, Shurpanaka came, Rama rejected her. But Krishna accepted the same Shurpanaka as Kubja, Trivakra in Mathura. And he gave her a very beautiful form of a young girl, although she came as an old woman. In this way, Krishna gave a lot of mercy, you will see. Rama rejected the Dandakara and he says, I can't marry you. You are all aspiring to marry me in the form of a woman. I have Ekapatni Vrat. I am going to marry only one, Sita. But Krishna accepted 16,000, princesses from the Bhaumasura's jail. And all the Dandakara and sages became Lord Krishna's wives, you see. In this way, Krishna is more merciful, the scriptures say. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is even more merciful than Krishna also, it is said. Why? Because Krishna puts conditions. He says, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Bhaje. First you surrender to me, then only I'll give you mercy. It's like you go to a shop, they say, first you pay the money, then take the commodity. It's like that. Whereas Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if people don't come to my temple, I will send Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur to their homes, door to door. Prati gare gare giya koro yehi bhiksha, bolo Krishna bhajo Krishna karo Krishna shiksha. Shuno shuno Nityananda shuno Haridas, sarvatra amara agnya koro ho prakash isring. My dear Nityananda, my dear Haridas, please listen. Go door to door, batter the doors, give books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, or go door to door and beg the people to chant the holy names, or go door to door, teach them how to worship Krishna's form and deity form. You go door to door. Therefore, devotees in ISKCON all over the world in Damodar month, they go door to door, putting up the Damodar song and introducing new people to Krishna consciousness. You see, in the marathon month, devotees go out distributing the books. In the Janmashtami time, devotees go door to door raising the funds, receiving the Lakshmi from the new people and then connecting them to Krishna by that. In this way, devotees have some excuse to go door to door to give Krishna to people. So this is what Lord Chaitanya says. Oh, they don't want to come to my temple. Okay, I'll be more merciful. I will send people, my men, to their homes. He's doing that. Like in the ancient times also, if you want to know about God, people have to go to forest to meet saintly people. You will see many kings also go to forest. But later on, now in Kali Yuga, it is said saintly devotees of God should go to the people, and people won't go to the forest. Do you know why? The reason is, when you get sick, you go to the doctor. When you are terribly sick, doctor comes to your home. Correct, no? Same way, in Kali Yuga, people are sick or terribly sick. Yes?
Terribly sick.
Terribly sick.
Terribly sick. Therefore, the mercy has to be taken home to home. So Krishna gave... Yeah, our children also found out. So therefore the Lord sends his devotees home to home to reach the mercy to all the people. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya is more merciful than Krishna also. It is said. So, not only that, imagine you are taking milk to give people free cow's milk home to home. Lord Chaitanya says, when you are giving, if somebody doesn't receive, because they say they have no vessel to receive it, you give them the vessel and give the milk also. That is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Patra, apatra, nadiki. If somebody is not qualified, you give them the qualification and you give them the mercy. He is so merciful. Like Jagai Madai, they were never looking for any mercy at all. So Nityananda Prabhu gave them the qualification and gave them the mercy, love of God. You can see that. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya is considered most merciful amongst all the four, Narasimha, Rama, Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And transform. And the secret is what? Krishna is merciful, but when Radharani combines with Krishna, he becomes super merciful. when Radha's Kripa is added to Krishna, that is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, there is a verse which says, Ishanam Dagadosa Venkatapate Vishnu Param Preyasi Tad Bhakshastal Nityavasa Rasikanta Kshanti Sambardhini Padma Lankrita Pani Pallava Yugam Padma Sanastam Shriyam Vatsalyadi Gunodvalam Bhagavatim Vande Jagan Mataram. So, in this verse, it is said about Lakshmi, goddess of fortune Lakshmi. She is the supreme beloved of Lord Narayana or Venkatacharapati, Venkatesha, of Lord Vishnu. And that Lakshmi sits on a lotus. She wears a garland of lotus and she's holding a lotus in the hand. Padma Alankrita Pani Pallavega. And also she is giving blessing to all her devotees. And about the Lakshmi, it is said, she is very soft-hearted. And she looks at the jivas like all of us with Vatsalya Bhava. Vatsalya means like a mother looking at her children. Like that, Lakshmi sees all the jivas of this world. And she charms the heart of Narayana by her devotion. So, because she charms the heart of Narayana by her devotion, by massaging his feet, Lord Narayana has a place for her in his heart. In his heart, Lord Narayana has a golden hair. The golden hair is actually called a Srivatsa. That is actually the abode of Lakshmi. She lives in the heart of Narayana. But it is said, Tat Vakshastala Nitya Vasa Rasikam Takshanti Samvardhini, it says. By residing in the heart of Narayana, she has made the heart of Narayana softer than before. It is mentioned. And Vatsalyadi Guna Ujjvalam Bhagavati. She is decorated with amazing qualities, which begins with Vatsalya for the jivas like all of us. Out of the two, in any family, you will see mother and father. Children are generally fond of mother because the mother becomes very compassionate. Like when I was a small kid, sometimes I would be naughty, sometimes I would be too much naughty at home. Then my father had one big stick, one ruler, which he would take out of the bureau, but he never bet me with that. You just show it, just to make sure that I don't become too much naughty. So once when he took out the stick, I ran away in our compound to the end of the compound, end of the street. My father came out of the home and said, call me, come back. And I wasn't coming at all. I said, you first throw away the stick, then I'll be back at home. Then night, 8:30 or so, I had to come back. Barely go to sleep. So when I came back, I ran directly to the kitchen, to my mother, and hid behind her saree and told her, Mama, now you have to pacify this fellow. Then my mother came to the hall and told my father, shh, why are you so upset with your son? He's a little naughty boy. Then my father kept the ruler inside and he forgot to, scold me and taunt me. Now, why I'm telling you this? Now, mother is such a lady that although she will also sometimes taunt me, but immediately she'll become merciful. You will see Yashoda is showing a stick to Krishna. But as soon as, she sees Krishna's face frightened by her stick, she throws away the stick immediately. So you will find in this way, she is 99% love and 1% strictness. Therefore, you will see the mother Lakshmi being, goddess Lakshmi being more compassionate than Lord Narayana. So in the same manner, when along with Krishna, when you combine Radharani's compassion, and that is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, combination of the two. Krishna is also Karuna Sindhu, but Radharani is even more compassionate than him also. Like if Krishna says some jiva to be unqualified, Radharani can make the jiva qualified and offer the jiva to Krishna. That is her special prerogative. So therefore, Lord Krishna appeared along with Radharani, which is the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the one which is mentioned later on. Radha Krishna Pranay Vikritir Hladini Shakti Rasmat Ekatmana Abhibhui Pura Dekha Betam Gatauto Chaitanyakam Prakata Madhuna Tad Bhayam Chakyam Aptam Radha Bhava Diti Suvalitam Naomi Krishna Swarupam. He is actually Krishna Swarupam, but he is combined with Radharani's hue of the golden complexion. He appeared in that form. And now we enter into the Adi-Lila chapter 4. And here there is also explanation of Adi-Lila 5 and 6 given here in order to make it comprehensive, so that it will be easy to put it all together and understand. Can you all recite after me? Shri Chaitanya Prasadena
Sri Chaitanya
Tadrupasya Vinirnayam
Tadrupasya Vinirnayam
Balopi Kurute Shastram Drishtva Vraja Vilasinaha. The meaning of this verse is, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, even a child can describe Krishna, the enjoyer of the pastimes of Raja, according to the scriptures. Balopi Kurute Shastram. Even a child can explain the Shastra by Mahaprabhu's mercy. Yeah. Drishtva Vraja Vilasinaha. The pastimes of Raja, the enjoyer of Raja Krishna, he becomes understandable to even a child who can understand and describe about Krishna by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he says. Why he says so? Because Kaviraj Goswami says, I have no qualification. But by Lord's grace, one can, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grace, one can describe Krishna, he says. So now we completed the external reasons. Now we are coming to the internal reasons. There are two internal reasons mentioned here in the verses 15 to 38 here. So I will briefly tell you about that. Prema Raga Aswadana and Raga Marga Bhakti Pracharana. These two things are given here in the internal reasons here. To taste the sweet essence of the mellows of love of God Himself. And Raga Marga Pracharana is to propagate devotion service in the world on the platform of spontaneous attraction. These two are mentioned in other places also. There are similar verses that Lord comes for two purposes. One is Krishna Himself wants to taste devotional service of the gopis of Raja, headed by Radharani. He wants to understand. There is a reason for that. I'll tell you why. There is one great poet in Maharashtra called Tukaram. He says, my dear Lord Krishna, you are like a beautiful lotus with great fragrance and laden with honey. But the problem of the lotus is, the lotus cannot see its own beauty. It cannot taste its own honey. It cannot smell its own fragrance. Who can do that? Can anybody say?
Bees.
Bees. That's correct. Yeah. Only bees can do that. Similarly, he says, be like devotees. They are more fortunate than you, my Lord, because they can see your beauty. They can taste your honey-like sweetness, sweet behavior. And they can appreciate the fragrance of your personality. But you cannot enjoy. Therefore, your devotees are more fortunate, like that he says. One time in Vrindavan, we were all in a yatra. And my dear friend Gauranga Prabhu went to Param Pujya Radhanath Maharaj and said, Maharaj, devotees are all going around the dham. And when they come back, they're very tired. They just take prasadam and, go to relax. So we are finding a great difficulty serving prasadam every day. In the lecture, if you can just put a couple of words that please assist in prasadam serving, I'll be grateful. Gauranga Prabhu said. And Maharaj, instead of doing that, he spoke an entire lecture on importance of serving Vaishnavas. One full lecture, 1.5 hours he spoke. That day, after the lecture, when the prasadam was about to start, practically there were 1,000 people standing in the queue for serving prasadam. Then Gauranga Prabhu had to drive away many people. He said, I don't need so many people. I just need about 50 people. What will I do with 1,000 people? So he had to really push people away to go and sit. And these 50 people served prasadam. Next day, Prabhu Jagannath Maharaj asked everybody a question. He asked, those who rendered service of feeding Vaishnavas prasadam, did they get more happiness? Or those who are having the plates and accepting prasadam and eating, did they get more happiness? And everybody unanimously agreed that those who served prasad, they got more happiness than those who were eating prasad. So now you can wonder, how is that? We really delight in eating prasad more, isn't it? But there is more delight in serving. And that is what Lord Krishna realized. Radharani and gopis and all Vrijabasis are serving me. So they are deriving more happiness than myself who is receiving service. So he thought, what is the use? I am in the role of an enjoyer and they are in the role of a servant. And servant enjoys more than the master. So he developed a greed that I want to adopt the mood of my servant, which means like, I want to become like a honey bee and taste the honey in the honey-laden lotus and the fragrance of the lotus. So, and I want to see the beauty of the lotus. So Krishna cannot do that. Therefore, he became Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's one of the reasons. See, he wanted to taste the bhakti of Srimati Radharani himself. Mahabhava Swarupini, Radha Thakurani, it is said. Radharani is the topmost Mahabhava practitioner. So her love for Krishna is oceanic. And our love for Krishna is only a drop. Actually, every one of us in this creation, every Atma is a part and parcel of Krishna. And in the heart of that Atma resides a Krishna Prema, which is a drop of Radharani's love. That means our love is part and parcel of Radharani's love. And our identity is part and parcel of Krishna's identity. So in this way, Radharani is loving Krishna with oceanic love. And we are all loving Krishna with a drop of love. But unfortunately, even that drop also has become covered over now in the conditioned stage. And we want to revive that love. And for that, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is appearing to teach us how to revive that love of Srimati Radharani for Krishna. So in our original state, all the jivas are like tiny jivas, all surrounding Radharani and assisting Radharani in her service to Krishna. That's what all jivas do in the spiritual world. So in this way, one has to know that her love is oceanic. And imagine if she comes to teach us how to love Krishna, how wonderful it will be. And that is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Mahaprabhu's pastimes are even more sweeter than Krishna's pastimes also. Because when Krishna combines with Radharani's love and devotion, it becomes so attractive. So, yeah. Prema rasa aswadana. He himself wants to taste it. And after tasting it, what he wants to do? Raga marga bhakti pracharana. He wants to give it all to other jivas. So these are two internal reasons for which he appears. So here internal and external reasons are given here. And here he says that the reverential, worship doesn't conquer me. That was earlier also discussed, that he says here, before Krishna's contemplation. See, this is Krishna's contemplation before his descent, which means before Krishna appeared in this world 5,000 years ago, at that time he was thinking that the world is filled with reverence. If I appear in Vrindavan and show this kind of, how people should deal with me in intimacy like Yashoda dealt with Krishna. So he showed pastime 5,000 years ago and went away. But at that time he played the role of Lord, not the role of devotee. So therefore, so that is the first part here explained here. Bhakti. And then he says that my mother binds me with love, Yashoda. My friends climb on my shoulders. All those things he's saying. So, and then he says that by the influence of Yoga Maya, I will appreciate the Gopi sentiments, and then Raga Marga will spread by hearing about the love of the Vajibasis. So all that Krishna thought. But actually, what happened was, although Krishna appeared in this world and revealed his Bhritya Vashyata, we call it. Bhritya Vashyata means how he becomes controlled by his devotees. And people appreciated it, but long before. Gradually, again, people went back to reverential worship and, people went back to considering God like an order supplier. Like in our convent days, we used to sing, "O Lord, hallowed be thy name, give us our daily bread." And this kind of bread-seeking religion is common all over the world. People go to God seeking bread, seeking good marks, seeking good business, returns and everything. So therefore Krishna was wondering, even though I personally came and lived in Vrindavan and my devotees also lived, after seeing all this, why the world has again reverted back to considering me an order supplier, putting me in a high pedestal and everybody is bowing down, demanding this, demanding that. It wasn't very pleasing to him. So he thought, okay, again I'll come as Lord Chaitanya now. So therefore he comes as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to propagate Nam Sankirtan and taste Prema himself. And he garlanded the world with the wreath of Nama and Prema. Such a beautiful sentence, isn't it? This is the 40th verse, in which he says, and Nama is Hare Krishna mantra. And the Prema Bhakti he taught through Srimad Bhagavatam. The whole world, yeah. Yeah. And he spread the Nama Sankirtan even amongst the untouchables. Yeah. He gave it to even the most degraded people also, like Jagai Madhya and others. Yeah. And then, now here comes in 42 to 49, rather the epitome of love of Krishna. There's a description, but now we have reached the time of today, 1 hour is over. And I will start with this 42nd the next time I meet you all again. So there are three very important things remaining to explain in this. One is about explaining what Srimati Radharani's personality is explained in this chapter, and without which one cannot understand Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we will devote a little time for understanding the position of Radharani. Then we also will understand the three desires, internal reasons, the three reasons which are given in one of the verses. So these two I will complete in the next, this is a famous verse, that Shriradaya Pranaya Mahima, that verse, which gives the three reasons. And once you understand the person, so I will devote half the time next time for understanding Srimati Radharani's personality, and another half the time for those three reasons, internal reasons, which Krishna appears as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then it will make the topic complete, and it will actually prepare our mood for approaching Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the Gaur Purnima day. So I can take one question, 2 minutes. Anybody?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, that was pranam.
Prabhu. Yeah.
Prabhuji, one question about the reasons. So in the external reasons, number 2, we saw that it was to bestow Vraja Prema, unalloyed loving service. And then in internal reasons also, point number 2 is to propagate devotional service. Is there an overlap between the two? Are they the same, or what's the difference?
Actually, when it says in the external reasons, so I'll go back to that. It's coming in the 3rd chapter. Just a minute. One of the first verses talks about that. See, there are 3 internal reasons mentioned here. To inaugurate the Yuga Dharma of Kali Yuga Nama Sankirtana, to bestow the Prema Bhakti or Braja Prema, and to fulfill Advaita Acharya's appeal. And these are the 3 things said. In the internal reasons, it is much more deeper. You will see there is one verse called as Shriradaya Pranaya Mahima. He wanted to know the glory of Srimati Radharani's love. That is the first internal reason. The glory of Srimati Radharani's love. Next time I will be beginning with that only. And secondly, what love she feels in her heart while rendering service to Krishna. First is only glory of Radharani herself. The second is what love she feels when she is rendering devotional service to Krishna. Krishna wanted to experience that type of love. And the third is, what is in me that makes her feel such great loving attraction for me? That's the third thing. These 3 are the 3 internal reasons. And all these 3 will be understood and deeply understand Braja Prema, epitomized by the Gopis' devotion to Krishna. So therefore, the three reasons will be elaborately explained. After that, we'll come back to your question. It will be more clear that time.
Okay.
Actually, when we say Braja Prema, it's a general Braja Prema, includes the 5 rasas. Whereas the internal reasons are specifically centered on the Gopis' love for Krishna.
Okay.
Here there is a question here. Devotee, okay, here, wouldn't familiarity breed contempt in Braja? That's the most amazing thing with Braja. Even though they are so intimate with Krishna, actually familiarity breeds contempt on a material platform. And familiarity breeds love on a spiritual platform. I can honestly tell you, even amongst devotees, like my Shiksha Guru, Devamrita Prabhu, who became known as Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj, So the more we got closer to him, the more our admiration for him increased. Because when you come closer and closer and closer to Vaishnava, their jewel-like qualities start manifesting. You understand? Huh? Oh, such amazing Vaishnava. Huh? Such a wonderful devotee. I never knew. I only knew he is so humble. I never knew he is so scholarly. I never knew he is sacrificing. Every time you come closer, you start appreciating more and more and more. Therefore, familiarity actually breeds love in a spiritual platform. But in material platform, familiarity breeds contempt. That is true in material platform. Here one Radhika Mataji has asked, Bhukti, Mukti and Siddhis, did you mention enjoying mentality for Bhukti? And no, actually for Bhukti means proprietorship mentality. Like Indra wants to be proprietor of heaven and he has insecurity. Indra wants to be proprietor. Example is Indra for that. And Daksha Prajapati is also proprietorship mentality. And Mukti, example is, Saubhari Muni. They want enjoyership. Like Hiranyakashipu want to be enjoyer of all the upper, middle and lower planetary systems. Enjoyership mentality. That is Mukti. Actually, Mukti means, see, Bhukti people want to enjoy in this material world and people who want Mukti want to enjoy in Brahma Jyoti. They want to enjoy by becoming God. They think I can become God. They can't become God, but they think they can merge in God and become God. They want to enjoy. And the Siddhi people, they want controllership. As like Vishwamitra wanted to create a Trishanku Swarga, and God is creating. I will also create my own planet. He thought like that. So they want to do something similar to imitate God and have some control. They want controllership. Yeah. So thank you for your questions. So we shall meet again. I'll just check with the date. Rajat Prabhu, did I give you the date for the next month?
Yes, Prabhu, March 7th.
Okay, March 7th. So March 7th, we will join again and we will complete the last part of this episode of. Actually, this is the book I'm using. This is actually a very handy book to use. The Chaitanya Bodhini, we call it. It's available with Gauranga Darshan Prabhu has nicely compiled it in Govardhan Eco Village. This book is probably it's coming up eventually in Kindle book also. We can check it. If Kindle book is available, you can refer to that. And the PDF which I'm using, I can mail that to Prabhu. You all can see the. Prabhu, I'll email it to you and you can pass it.
Sure,
It will be very nice, very colorful. Only difference between the Subodhini and that is a little more brief than the Subodhini. The Subodhini has more exhaustive and it's not available in soft copy. If I had, I would have given you. But you can check whether Kindle book is available.
Yes,
And the other PDF Gauranga Darshan Prabhu gave me, I can share with all of you. Okay? Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. These children were attending the whole lecture. Very surprising. Who is that? Radhu.
Radhika and Rasika.
Okay, Radhika and Rasika, they attended the whole lecture. Amazing. Yes, they have, tremendous taste.
I have a question for you.
What is it? Wait.
Is that Shiva is a devotee and he's a very great Vaishnava. Why does he put this 3-line tilak? He needs to put a tilak which has both Krishna Radha feet and Tulsi in.
Yeah, good question. You see, what does that this mean? There are 3 things in this world: lust, anger, and greed. Shiva has burned them all to ashes, and then he wears it. So the Shiva teaches detachment from the material world, and especially for the Shiva followers. Actually, there are 2 types of Shiva followers. One are the Vaishnavas, and one are the Shaivites who adore Shiva as the supreme. So for those people, he teaches them detachment and takes them to the platform of, Kailash. He takes them to the Brahman platform. So for that, he is wearing this to teach them that you have to get rid of these three things: lust, anger, and greed. And for the Vaishnavas, even though a Vaishnava may not wear a tilak, still Vaishnavas can recognize Shiva as the Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. So he has a dual role, a demigod role and a Vaishnava role. So we see him as Vaishnava. And the demigod worshippers see him as a demigod. So they only get material benefits from him. And we can associate with Shiva in the mood of a Vaishnava like Prachetas did, and we can achieve. Similarly, somebody was asking me why Radharani is wearing a bindi, she's not wearing tilak. But if Krishna would like to see Radharani with a bindi, then let she wear bindi instead of tilak. And we wear tilak because we wear the lotus feet of the other, we wear the lotus feet of Krishna, and this represents Tulasi. Therefore, we wear like this. But Radharani, even without wearing tilak externally, she's always taking the dust of Krishna on her head at every moment. So she wears different types of bindi she wears, which may be very charming for Krishna to see. So she wears like that. Similarly, Shiva wearing the three things is especially for his demigod devotees. Is that all right, Radha and Rasi? Oh.
It's Shiva wears that thing because he wants to teach us you have to get rid of lust, greed, and anger, right?
Correct. That's true. Yeah. Very good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Brajak Babu, thank you for coordinating it and inviting
you,
all this. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again next month.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank
Hare
you for your time. One second.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare